Hello and welcome back to the channel, or if you're just, completely new around here, then just welcome. And today we're going to take a look forward and slightly back at some of the Steam games dropping in August. Normally I put these out in advance of the current month, but last week's Fit Your Glasses Pro video took a little bit longer than I expected, but yeah. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started, and just as a reminder, this is not a full list of everything coming out in the month of August, rather just 10 games that I thought looked particularly interesting, so if I missed something, or if there's a game that you're very excited for, please do let me know in the comments below, but yeah, for now let's go ahead and kick things off with a retro throwback in Kitsune Tails. So Kitsune Tails looks to be a loving homage to the best platformers of the late 8-bit era, specifically Super Mario Bros. 3, but it also appears to have a whole lot of other nods to some of the action platformer greats. From the Steam page description, this is a game that is inspired by Japanese mythology, and also represents a love triangle between three young women on a journey of self-discovery. And I'm a big fan of games that take on the 8-bit aesthetic as a child of that era, but the art on display here looks exceptionally sharp, and fits particularly well with its anime-inspired approach to the visuals. If the gameplay rises to the same level of quality, this might just be a sleeper hit for August, and definitely on my radar for pickups to check out later this month. And speaking of classic games but jumping forward a couple of console generations, we've got Tomba Special Edition, which also dropped last week on August 1st. And I'm really excited to play this one, mostly because I completely ignored it when I was playing the PS1 in its heyday. At the time, I was mostly busy playing games like Siphon Filter 2 or Final Fantasy VIII, but my friend's little brother was jumping into this game at every opportunity when we weren't hogging the PlayStation for ourselves. And I wasn't explicitly dismissive of childish games back then necessarily, but I definitely remember just sort of sneering at this one, and in the back of my mind thinking that this is some sort of a kid's game, and I just kind of treated it as such. But apparently when this game first came out back on the PlayStation, it actually reviewed pretty well, and it certainly garnered enough of a cult following to warrant a remaster, so yeah, this will definitely be the year that I finally give Tomba an honest shake, and if you're an old school fan, you're probably pretty excited for this one too, especially since I now know that it is actually an open world Metroidvania, which before I always thought this was just a straight up platformer. And keeping this retro theme alive, next up is a game that dropped just a couple of days back, and I'd venture to guess that you will either love this game or straight up hate it, and that would be Volgarr the Viking II. So I played but did not finish the original Volgarr the Viking for the Nintendo Switch, and it is a delightful nostalgia romp if you have a special place in your heart for just pure unadulterated retro challenge. If you've ever powered through an unforgiving challenge of games like the original Mega Man, Castlevania, or Super Ghouls and Ghosts, then you will have a good idea of what to expect here. The original was brutal, and I don't expect its sequel is going to go much easier on players, but hey, if you love crispy pixel art and an uphill battle and have a little bit of a masochist streak, I'm sure this one's going to be worth a look. Next up is a game that is both in and also way out of my wheelhouse, but I can't deny that it looks interesting, and that would be Warhammer 40k Speed Freeks. And this game also just came out last week, and here's the thing, whatever coat of paint you want to give it, whether that's Mario, Sonic, Crash, Diddy Kong, Twisted Metal, whatever, kart racing and combat is just an inherently fun genre that just about anybody can pick up and play. And that's true whether it's actual racing or straight up death matches with car combat, and Speed Freeks looks to do a bit of both. And the thing is, I really don't know anything about the Warhammer 40k universe or anything like that. All I know is that I did play their excellent boomer shooter Bolt Gun, which I believe came out last year, I want to say. But I know what looks fun, and the cherry on top of this is that it's a completely free game, so really you have no reason not to at least check it out and give it a whirl. I know I certainly will be, because at the very least I'm going to be very curious how this thing performs on the deck. And if you like the idea of fast, brutal car combat in what looks to be a very post-apocalyptic-y looking setting, I'm sure you will enjoy this one as well. Next up, sticking with violence but switching over to the Souls-like genre, we have Deathbound, which also came out this week. And while I feel like the Souls-like genre is getting a little bit overstuffed lately, this one did catch my eye mostly for its taking a party-based approach to the genre. As far as how well this will work in practice, we'll just have to wait and see, but I can't deny there is something really appealing about being able to instantly switch classes in a Souls-like. Especially considering that in a lot of Souls games that you play, you have to be very deliberate about how you build out your character, lest you end up getting like 40 levels deep and then realize you don't really like your build that much. So it seems like this could be a really neat idea if they execute it well, providing a lot of build flexibility and hopefully just a unique twist on the Souls-like experience. And speaking of fundamentally appealing gameplay, next up is Vladik Brutal, a first-person shooter set in what appears to be a post-apocalypse with an oppressive regime you'll have to take down. Now this whole thing was put together by a single developer, so I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit rough around the edges in spots. But I can't deny that the action looks super fun here, and visually it sort of looks like a 5th gen game that just got a recent remaster. Which is to say, I totally love the way this game looks. And it definitely seems to be wearing its influences on its sleeve, but hey, I don't mind at all if a game pays loving homage to what's come before if the gameplay feels good, and so far it looks like Vladik Brutal very much does. Alright, and finally, let's move on to some actual stuff that isn't out yet, but is on the way, starting with another first-person shooter, albeit a uniquely dark asymmetrical PVPVE experience. We have Level 0 Extraction coming out on August 13th. Now, the premise is that during a scientific expedition to a new planet to look for new life, humanity finds it in the worst possible way. Which sounds about right when you consider that it's typically a bad idea to try to combine human and alien DNA. Well, that's exactly what happens, and in turn megacorporations from all over the world are sending in mercs to retrieve research data from this planet. Now, as a huge Dead by Daylight fan, I'm incredibly biased towards games like this, but outside of my personal affinity for multiplayer horror, this just looks like a really fun time. Clearly they're paying homage to Alien here, but more so I'd say it gives me AVP meets Resident Evil vibes. So if you're in the market for a new multiplayer experience that lets you be a merc or a monster, I think this one's shaping up nicely. Next up, stepping away from dark, gritty, and violent to straight up silly, we've got Just Crow Things dropping on August 15th, in which you'll be a little crow making new animal friends and getting into all manner of mischief. Offering up a range of sandbox levels, this is probably going to fall right in line with games like Untitled Goose Game, Little Kitty Big City, or Lil Gator Game. By which I mean you'll probably be just completely peppered with wacky antics, and all of it is set to a cutesy art style. Every now and then I love to dive into a game like this just because as much as I love big beefy narrative games, I also just like to relax and unwind with something that's sort of low octane goofiness, and I expect Just Crow Things will deliver exactly that. And I do feel like we're going to enter a bit of a theme here in these last few entries because, well, I guess you'll see right now. The next game on this list is one where you are an adorable cat who perpetrates wanton acts of depraved violence, and that would be Gori, Cuddly Carnage, releasing on August 29th. Personally, I love everything about what I'm seeing here. It's fast, frenetic, over-the-top action that is outrageously violent. But I also know that some people might find this type of humor to be a little bit grating, which, I get it. Irreverent ultra-violence that looks like it's been deep-fried in an 80s space opera isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea. But if you don't mind that sort of extreme edginess in your humor, and you like having your senses assaulted with just hyper-saturated nonsense, this is probably going to resonate with you. I'm looking forward to the locomotion as much as the combat, and if the environments are fun to explore as well, then I'm guessing this will be a pretty good game, and likely scratch that itch for people who love cute and outrageous combinations in the vein of Conquer or Naughty Bear. And finally, rounding out the now established theme of cute or cuddly violence, and dropping on the same day no less, we have Squirrel with a Gun also dropping on August 29th. Now I have no idea if this is going to be like a legitimately fun game to play, or if it's more of a nonsensical experience like Goat Simulator, but either way I am interested in the idea of being a squirrel doing combat with a pistol or a sniper rifle. Apparently the setup is that you're a squirrel trying to escape a secret underground facility, and you'll have to contend with legions of agents along the way. You'll wield a variety of firearms from the aforementioned pistols to machine guns, grenade launchers, landmines, and more. And I have to say, even if this is just a silly ultra-violent sandbox, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it and probably just go ahead and take the leap. If not at launch, then certainly when it hits the sale sooner or later, because this just looks like a bonkers good time, and I really do enjoy games that are just completely off the wall and try to do something new like this. Alright, and that's it for this one. Again, not a comprehensive list or anything like that, just a bunch of new games for August that I thought looked really unique and appealing. Again, if I missed anything, or if there's a certain game that you are very excited about, I would definitely love to hear about it in the comments below, especially considering so many of the games that I pick up come directly from your recommendations. But yeah, as far as what's coming up, I think I'm going to do another Let's Play video checking out at least one of the games on this list next week, and then also my pickups for July, which mostly leaned into spooky territory, but yeah, again, that's it for this one. As always, I appreciate your taking the time to watch my videos here on the channel. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.